XT first because people will watch them.
Yeah. We just finished one.
Actually, it's too flame Leviathan.
1.25.
I hate you here.
No.
Okay, I do have some notes on XT hard mode. Let me just dig them up
Yeah,
real
I
quick.
died at Nilos because you weren't here, so I had to like hold the banner high, you know? I think so. I think that was intentional. That wasn't a mistake, right? The only mistake I make is not dropping
My
staff.
computer's dying. Okay, so XT hard mode, some people saw it in 10-man. It's really not that different from the normal. Pretty much the main difference is you're going to kill the heart here, and then you're not going to have to worry about as many ad phases.
You're not streaming, New York.
Oh. There we go. So, pretty much the first thing that we're gonna do is in the hard mode and even for normal, we really should be doing the strat almost the exact same. The only thing different for normal is we'll do it to the right. You can do the hard mode to the right too. But the first thing I want to comment on is you see this line here they have of the casters. This is what I want, and we were starting to do it towards end, but I want a perfect line. Okay, the reason being is throughout this fight, as we all know, we've all done it now, there's two debuffs. You get the grav bomb on you, as you can see here, and you get the light spark, okay? Now when you get the grav bomb, you need to run out of the raid, okay? Right before it blows up, you didn't see him blow up. And in the hard mode, once you kill the heart, it will drop a void zone, okay? So that's the main difference from the void zone. The other difference is when the light debuff, that's like the shocking debuff around you constantly, when it expires, it will drop a life ad or a life spark. You'll see it spawn right here. Usually it's just pretty quickly taunted by the main tank, you saw there, and then it gets cleaved down. It's not that big of a deal, but it is kind of prioritized over the boss because it does do a lot of pulsing AoE damage, okay? Now, those two mechanics are really the only mechanically different thing from normal to hard mode. And really, nothing's changing because even on normal, you need to get out for the grav bombs, otherwise you're going to kill people. And you also need to get out for the light spark, otherwise you're going to kill people. Okay? So nothing's really changing that much with the hard mode. What makes it really hard is when you kill the heart, he full heals, and then he starts doing more damage and has way more health, okay? And that's why this is considered one of the hardest fights currently. Now, the reason I would like this line is what happens is, let's say this guy in the middle gets the light spark and he just needs to run to the right, okay? Usually we have the melee on the left leg, and then the person with the light spark will go to the right leg, okay? The reason the line is good is because in that time when he's moving, he's damaging less people, okay? If we just had all the range clumped, everyone would take that couple ticks of that pulsing damage, right? So by spreading people out in a line, it's a bit smoother. Now the reason we don't just want a full spread is because we want people to still be somewhat centrally located so that people don't have to run as far with the void zones and with the grav bombs. So generally we're going to have people run to the left for grav bomb and to the right leg for life spark. Okay, now when you get the life spark in hard mode, you want to be somewhat close to the tank, that being essentially the right leg, and you'll see all the locks here have their demonic circle right there so they can quickly teleport. And you see Star, that's someone with it, and he just spawned the life spark, because you don't want to drop a life spark way back here near the healers and in Narnia, and then Isaac's gonna yell at you, okay?
Isaac always shows up.
Good. So as you can see, the void zones are pretty big, so eventually you're probably going to need to drop the void zones behind you, to the right of you. They don't go away for the whole fight as far as I know, and you want to kind of stack them. So like you see this gap right here between these two, that would be a good place to drop a void zone, right? You don't just want to be griefing our room. Okay, so the fight overall is pretty simple, but we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty nuances that make it kind of challenging. And so obviously this here, you just see he got it, he teleported here. Perfect example, pretty much perfect execution. This is what we want people to do. Okay, obviously not everyone has teleport, but mages can blink, melee just run over to right leg, you can still keep DPSing. Just get over there ASAP, okay? You don't really want to use your rocket boots on the life spark, you want to use it on the grab bomb. The grab bomb's more threatening to the raid. If one blows up, I'll show you later in this, it just kills everyone. Straight up. And so you'll see he has like 4 seconds on it, so he waits pretty long. But obviously don't kill people. So here he gets another light, and he just stays here because he doesn't want to run through the raid to go over there. I'm guessing his demonic circle fell too. Okay. Now the tantrums. Let's talk about the tantrums, because what happens occasionally is during the tantrums, you can look at the raid damage here. It's pretty intense. It's going to be even more because he's buffed on our version, okay? So usually for every tantrum we're going to need, whether it's a raid sack or a healing him or something like that. As for healing him, you might get pushback. It might even cancel it. It should just push back it. So when we do the healing him, we probably want to aura mastery concentration paired with it.
You shouldn't get any pushback. You should just be back for 70%. And you should be fine.
Okay.
You can go
even with just the normal aura, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean technically you don't even need to go all the way, because if your holy pally is improved concentration, you just need 50. But every healer has 70% reduced pushback, and concentration is 30. It gets you to 100. So
okay.
It doesn't matter who's doing concentration. It should probably be a holy pally since they're standing closer to you than any of the other pallies. But
we don't know any of those.
Oh, we got Folly now. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Late
No
again.
worries. We're just talking XT hard mode. We saved Flame Leviathan just for you, don't worry. So the first weird thing that happens here, okay, is first off, we might not have enough raid sacks for the tantrums. So that's why I mentioned healing hymns. One thing I was curious, I don't know if this works at all. Can you improve the armor aura? Does that work or no?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I actually wonder if that's potentially good here.
Didn't I say they were making it unmitigatable?
The tantrum? It might be.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so you can only use like percent
the
DRs or heal through it? Okay. Alright, that's fine. I was just curious about that.
I don't think I dropped that. I think that was yours, right?
So, we have healing him and raid sacks. That being said, the very first tantrum, he will generally do one tantrum before we kill the heart. Let me just find their actual poll here, where they kill the heart. The first one, we want to actually save our cooldown for. So what we'll do on the first one, is that's usually the one where we'll just say, everyone use your personal cooldowns. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, we want to get those things on cooldown early anyways, whether it's Shamanistic Rage, IBF, I don't know everyone's cooldowns, but you know what I mean. Any type of mitigation, even if it's just, you know, if you're a lock, lifesteal, whatever it's called, for a bit. And if you really need to Hellstone, you need to Hellstone. It is what it is. But the reason is we don't want to use a raid sack the first one, because the first one won't do as much damage as the other ones, because he's not buffed from killing the heart yet, okay? So that's what this raid was always calling for, to use personals on the first one. Okay?
Makes sense.
Yep.
Just trying to show the first tantrum before the hard drop. There's the tantrum. So the heart actually dropped and broke out of the tantrum too. So even more reason to not use on the first one if we push the DPS check. In a perfect world, you don't lust to kill the heart. That being said, currently it looks like people can't kill the heart without lusting. And based on the Blizz dev interview, they're trying to keep it that way. They want us to lust on the heart, and they might nerf his health afterwards. We'll see.
Or increase the the what's it called timer they were saying as well, the enrage timer.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so that's the first kind of tricky thing, is just managing all these cooldowns. Now let's talk about some of the weird things that happen. Let me just go back. So what can happen is people can get Searing Light, right? And they're taking ticking magic damage, okay? But then he starts a tantrum at the same time, right? So that person is not only barely surviving to that tantrum, but they're now taking a dot here too. So you can see, I think Searing Light is on Beatrix. So let's try and find Beatrix here. I know it's super tiny. I can't read his frames at all. But you can see what I mean. So that person is going to need additional heals. And so a good way to deal with this is, what we can do is, whenever a tantrum happens after we kill the heart, you just give that person if whoever has Searing Light at that time, if it's Yumemi, you just give them a bop, so that way they're not taking tantrum damage, they're just taking the spark damage, okay? Because this is what I'm guessing is going to kill a lot of people, right? And if you don't, it's something that's easy to miss, and we don't want to just blame our healers, because it's going to be probably damaged so quick that they can't heal through it unless we do something about it, potentially even through a raid sack. Okay. Aside from that, let me just look at my notes here. Tantrums don't hurt till the heart's dead. After need raid water, healing him. Healing him might need bop or concentration or mastery. So Isaac's saying we might just be good with concentration. That's great, because we don't really want to have to bop the priest healing him. That being said, we'll probably use all the raid sacks, and healing him will be like the last resort, and hopefully, you know, to tide us over till raid sack's back. So the light spark does a lot of personal damage, so we're going to want to bop them. So I believe they were saying this only lines up, I believe when I watched the video, so that it only happens at the 1 minute, the 3 minute, and the 5 minute tantrum. This could be different on the PTR, but I think just 2 pallies should be able to rotate bops. But we'll kind of see. Now, bops are still really powerful in the fight if we have extras, because you can just use it on a healer or someone during the tantrum, and that person doesn't have to heal themselves, right? It's just one less person to heal, and it kind of adds up, right?
Right.
Rocket boots should be used for grab bomb. Add keep spawning, generally run towards boss. Prop Helly's gonna taunt. Bombs need to be focus killed. And really long grindy fight, mana hymns and tide and all that. There's not, once again, too much to this fight. The scariest part is just, you know, people not wiping the raid. Us properly doing the line of casters, so we're mitigating extra damage, because this isn't a fight we can just heal through extra damage. Like, healers are gonna go fucking on this on our first kill. Even if it's not week 1, it's obviously not going to be week 1. We're not going for it week 1, but this is gonna be a fucking tuning check, and it's gonna take a lot of DPS. Healers are gonna be like, our first kill, you know, it's gonna be like maybe only 10 people alive at then, and all the healers dead. It's gonna be rough, right?
It's probably also not gonna be like one of the hard modes where it's just like, you know, don't be dumb and survive. It's we gotta push it while not being dumb.
Yep. So let me see if I can find a really good wipe here to avoid zone or a grab bomb. I know they had, I think their second pull or something. And this is probably the last thing I want to show on this.
Jesus.
He does pat back and forth, so they do have the locks go up and drop their demo circle before they pull. It's a good little tip for locks.
Oh, why did I just fucking cough?
I think it was this one. Let's see what happens here. There's a grab bomb. This one they didn't even kill the heart yet. There's no void zone, so that's even on normal how threatening the grab bomb is, right? So you'll see here they weren't doing their line perfectly well either yet. If you fuck up a grab bomb and we're in the line, less people are gonna get hit by it as well, right? That's the other reason we're doing it. I think later they have another one. I think once you enable the hard mode, it will straight up one-shot people.
You can hear him in spirit.
Just checking what's causing wipes. Another grab bomb. So this is once the hard mode is enabled.
So I'm gonna drop myself.
This melee didn't get out. And see, pulled people even from range. And dropped a void zone on the melee. And if the melee can't stand on the left leg, where are all the melee life sparks gonna go? They're gonna have to go out now, or we're gonna have to move the boss. So any void zone on melee is like almost a wipe. You know what I mean? It's not great. Okay. So
you mean dropping it on melee? Right?
Yeah, dropping it on melee is really bad. Like, because we have to reposition the boss. That or melee just can't DPS while they have life spark, and based on the DPS check of this boss, we're just not going to kill at that attempt then, right? So your only choice is try repositioning or wipe, pretty much. At least the first couple weeks. Any questions on XT hard mode before we go Flame Leviathan?
No, not really.
It's pretty simple, but it's gonna be like one of those fights where it's like, it feels like we're under geared. You know what I mean?
This is just like ping pong in my brain.
It seems kind of like a Brutalis fight, where it's like, inherently what you need to do is not hard, but it just requires everyone to not screw up.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison. Okay.
Thanks, Dad.
Alright, we're going to talk about Flame Leviathan. And let me just steal someone's strats real quick.
Oh,
I say, what the hell? This guy didn't eat. Wait, you didn't theorize these own strats by yourself in a fresh run?
To be fair, I stole it from a wiki page and then read it on this person's strats, and I'm like, they just saved me typing it out.
I hit Warhammer, so don't you worry. And there's a 119 on the BGS tracker. I think we're good. This thing's melting.
Oh my god, I need to do this on my laptop. My computer's just dead.
Almost bedtime, dude. It's almost bedtime for me. Okay, well, he wasn't moving for a while. It was glitched. I was like, what's happening, dude? I almost clicked.
So we're gonna adapt this this strategy sheet though, so just ignore the names. But pretty much we'll go over kind of what everyone's role is here. First off, let me show you the difference in hard mode between what we're used to and not. So pretty much, let me pull up the wiki too.
Okay. Thank you, Vino. I'm assuming. I mean, for dropping it, because he's the only one that's not in the call. Everyone else, I think, had full inventories.
Okay. So when you do Flame Leviathan hard mode, we already explained how the towers work. You can leave them up and it gets extra abilities. Let's go over the abilities. The Storm's Tower will boost his physical damage by 25%, meaning if you aren't properly kiting him, he is going to truck you. You're going to die very, very quickly, okay? Additionally, he's going to spawn pillars of light that will just pretty much do damage to people under them, and they kind of chase people. So let's go ahead and show that.
Nice.
I get this now, which is nice.
I'm telling you, this stoner's learning.
See, and they are, this is on PTR, and they are shooting down the things around him. We still should be doing that. People just shouldn't shoot them if they're right over Flame Leviathan. And honestly, this guy just did it there, and we'll see if it pulls. It didn't. But he shouldn't have done that regardless. So let's wait. You see these dark blue beams that are showing up? These are the storm beams. You see the sparks there? And it's dropping little balls of lightning that blow up. Everyone's seeing that, right?
No, no, no. No, no, no. No, thanks. Nope.
Now, the flames is going to boost his fire damage, so this is flame bends pretty much. If we aren't kicking this, we're all going to be taking a shit ton of damage, and he will also drop fire orbs. They will slowly go in a path, but they're going to leave the fire on the ground, okay? And this one is a bit tricky, actually, simply because of the nature of the fight. You need to constantly kite Flame Leviathan, and as these fire piles start to add up, it can kind of really fuck up your path, right? So to me, this is kind of one of the harder ones.
Can you use that to light the oil?
It might, but I don't know. Like, the thing is, the oil would have to be down, then it would have to drop, I believe. And the thing is, you wouldn't want to do that, because you never want to... You want the oil to be in front of Flame Leviathan. And you don't want to kite him through fire, because then you're taking fire, right? And on top of that, there might be the siege tanks that are then taking fire, because they need to be close to interrupt, right? So, that's the fire tower. Then we have the Frost Tower. To me, this is actually the easiest tower to leave up, and I would honestly maybe even be down to leave this one up week 1. Now, this one, there will be big beams. They don't do damage, but after they stop, it will drop a big ball of frost, and it will do a ton of damage, and it can trap people in ice. To me, this is so easy to avoid. Just like dodge the big slow falling ice balls, don't get frozen. It doesn't buff him at all, and if they do get frozen, they can be broken by any fire attack, like the catapult flaming boulder, right? So that is this this light blue. Not this dark blue is the storm tower, so you'll see it's on him, and he needs to run.
What? What? There's a range thing there.
Kind of waiting here, not getting a good example of one. There's one. Kind of turns last minute here, and you'll catch it. So. Right here. Okay? So you just dodge it. Just don't be in the beams. And it's no different than the other beams. So to me, I'm perfectly fine with leaving this tower up week 1 and giving some people practice dodging the mechanics. That being said, if we don't want to slow down week 1, that's completely fine too.
What do you get from one tower?
I can check. I think it's just an extra orb, but hey, still helps. The orbs are best for a lot of craftable, mainly for the leather wearers, or best boots, and a couple others. So, okay, and let's go on to the last tower, which is actually kind of the most complicated. So, this is the life tower, and this one decreases fire damage dealt to Flame Leviathan. Okay, so we do less damage. Additionally, he's going to spawn a bunch of lashers in the corners. So there's always 4 green beams in the corners, and every once in a while, waves of lashers will spawn. the waves of lashers, they kind of just run at people and they do a bunch of damage. They need to be killed, okay?
Yeah,
I won't go into specifically what they do. There's a big one and a bunch of small ones, okay? Show you what that looks like, then we're going to go over everyone's responsibility. There's the big ones there. And then, see if I can find a wave. He's in a demolisher, so he's not really on the lashers as much.
I don't know what this. Oh, MVP. I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at.
They're doing a really good job managing them here, so it's not getting too hectic. But I think you saw a couple small ones in that corner there. But they spawn with the big ones. Usually the small ones will die pretty quick. Okay.
How are they making the fire drop so?
I think your sleep schedule is going to be reset now, or
so it's I believe it's chasing people. So the beams chase people, and so probably what they're doing is when you're getting chased as the fire, they're probably told to go around the outside here. But see, they are kind of they will go into the raid at certain points. They got a bit lucky there, and see it's getting a bit worse here. It's starting to go through the middle.
I see, okay. And
yeah.
So it chases one person during that time, that's whenever it's going to drop.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yep. Yeah, all the beams except the green beams kind of work that way. They're always kind of chasing someone, and I think when they lock onto you, that's when they kind of usually stop and drop.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sleep.
Okay. Now, let's talk about some stuff, some of the vehicles.
Responsibilities.
Yeah, and what they're doing. So, first off, the most important, let's start with the siege engine, because they're, actually no, I want to start with Demolisher, it'll make the most sense. So the Demolisher are the DPS of this fight. They do so much damage, and if you play the Demolishers right, you can really fly through this, and as we get more gear, it will become very, very easy, okay? So as a driver, you only have a couple abilities. You have the Boulder, which you can just always use, okay? And this should light up the tar. And then you have your Pyrite barrel, okay? The Pyrite is just a stacking debuff, okay? But it uses your resource. Now, it does stack up to 10, and then at that point, what you would do is you would wait till the debuff's almost about to drop, then throw another Pyrite just to refresh it. You don't just want to spam Pyrite once you're at max things. You want to save how much ammo you are. Or ammo you have, right? Resources. Now, you also have the Ram. The primary ability of the Ram is not to ram Flame Leviathan. On normal, I don't care. You can zug straight into Flame Leviathan and do as much damage as you care. Couldn't care less. If you are a Demolisher on hard mode, though, you should never, ever be anywhere near Flame Leviathan. Ever. Okay? You want to be max range from him. And the only thing you're going to use the Ram for is hitting lashers into Flame Leviathan to get cleaved down with the other damage going towards him, okay? Now, let's talk about the Passenger before we get to the throw. The Passenger has a couple abilities. He's got his main DPS that he's just going to do Mortar. It does do fire damage. This should also ignite the tar. He has the anti-air rockets, okay? That's going to knock down the Pyrite from the air, and there potentially is the helicopters in this fight too. They might come. I'm not positive on that. I have seen it on some videos, and I don't think I've seen it on the PTR one yet. Now, the Passenger can also speed boost. Now, the speed boost, you'll notice, uses 25 Pyrite, okay? Whereas hurling 1 Pyrite is 5, okay? So 10 stacks costs 50 Pyrite. So this is the increased speed boost is 5 stacks of Pyrite. That's absolutely massive, okay? So
also worth mentioning that you can only have 50 Pyrite total.
Yeah, it's all your Pyrite pretty much, or half your Pyrite, and it's 5 stacks, right? So if you are a Passenger and a Demolisher, for the love of God, do not spam this, okay? Do not even press it unless you feel you are about to die. And by that I mean Flame Leviathan is chasing you, and he is in melee range and hitting you. This is the only time you use this, okay? It's your vehicle's gonna die if you don't press the button, okay? Pretty much. Aside from that, you don't want to use it, okay? The main responsibility of the passenger of the Demolisher is actually getting pyrite to the driver of the Demolisher, okay? Now the pyrite is going to be dropping down. It looks like these blue crates dropping everywhere. You'll see kind of all over the room. There's 2 right there to the left. And see, he's keeping his stacks on the Demolisher. He's turning around every once in a while to keep it, and then he's driving towards a thing and not DPSing because he needs a refill. He's got to keep his stacks up. And he's not prioritizing his just like boulder throw. He's prioritizing getting more pyrite to keep 10 stacks loaded, okay? That is always the #1 priority of the Demolishers, okay? And this is why we're prioing eye level to people. We want the Demolisher drivers to know that my only job here really is to keep 10 stacks rolling at all times, okay? Understood?
Yep.
The last thing
Got it.
that makes the Demolisher passenger tricky is they can load themselves into the catapult and get launched onto Flame Leviathan. Now, once they are loaded in here, the Demolisher can press throw, and this is a skill shot. You need to actually throw them onto where it looks like it will hit the turrets. Looks like everyone did it the first time we did it, fine, so no problems there. And when you're up there, there should be 3 turrets, and you will land on one of them. You can't move between them, so you never want to send up a melee because they could only damage one of the 3 turrets. You always send up ranged. And who you send up is usually people that can kind of heal themselves if shit hits the fan. Because while they're up there, they are taking constant damage, okay? So the really good people are like a Boomkin, a Locke, an Ellie Shaman, anything like that. A Shadow Priest. So these are the people we're going to be looking to shoot up there, okay? Now, why do you want to kill these turrets? You want to kill them for a number of reasons. A, they're doing damage to us, so the quicker you kill them, the less damage we're taking. B, when you kill them all, it's going to cause a shutdown. And why shutdowns are really good is Flame Leviathan just has a built-in ability, whereas throughout the fight, he moves faster and faster, okay? So it gets harder and harder to kite Flame Leviathan throughout the fight. So what we do is we cause shutdowns. And you'll see his circuit's overloaded and he's repairing. This is the shutdown. And also during the shutdown, he takes more damage, okay? So it's just free DPS period where you can see everyone is absolutely blasting him right now. And he takes a ton of damage, okay? And you're not as threatened. So we want to cause shutdowns as much as possible, okay? Now to do this, there is a preload strategy, and I was trying to kind of explain this a bit, but I didn't want to waste too much time our first week. I just wanted to get people used to it. But essentially, we'll go over all this, but pretty much what you'll do is we're going to drop 1 siege engine and 1 chopper, okay? So that's 3 less people in vehicles, and what you do is those 3 people are going to preload into the catapult. So you can actually have 1 person in the catapult, 1 driving, and 1 passenger. And so when the fight starts, you immediately catapult the person on top. And the reason we're doing this is you never want a Demolisher that doesn't have a passenger, because that Demolisher can not stack pyrite then, because he can't get pyrite, right? Unless he's swapping back and forth, and that's just not good, okay? So that's why we're doing preloads, because we don't want those Demolishers to not have passengers, okay? So once those 3 people kill all the turrets, they will be shot off from Flame Leviathan, given parachutes, and they need to be picked up, okay? As soon as the shutdown occurs, and as soon as it ends, okay, and everyone's DPSing, whoever was, let's say, my Flame Leviathan, or sorry, my Demolisher had Sildra as a passenger and Hero in the catapult, just theoretically, right? And I catapult Hero first. The second shutdown ends, Sildra should load himself into the catapult, And then let's say a Folly's on a chopper, right? A Folly will pick up Hero, bring him back to me, and then Hero will then be the passenger of my Demolisher. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Does make sense. So shouldn't the choppers bring him back before?
Yeah, so they are. They are as soon as they can. So as soon as the shutdown occurs, the people will be ejected, and the choppers will be assigned to pick up 3 people. So we're going to mark the preloaded people, and the choppers will have to pick up the marks and bring them back to the demolishers. The hardest part is they have to track which demolisher they're kind of bringing them back to. Ideally, you bring back to the right ones. It doesn't really matter too much if you mix them up. Really, you just drive next to the demolishers, and the person in the passenger of the chopper, if they see the green get in the vehicle sign, that means, you know, that's one of the ones you can hop in. Or you pre-target them, because you can target anyone here. You don't need to target Flame Leviathan to do damage to him, right?
So I guess would it make sense to, like, just, in theory, let's say I'm in a chopper, and say I'm picking up Yorick's passenger. Like, just have a target of whoever that was?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, if a Folly is trying to bring Hero back to me, he should probably set his focus as my Demolisher, and then know Hero's marked box. I'm bringing box to my focus. Make sense?
Yep.
So that's what's going on with the catapults. I know it sounds complicated, but the thing is, most of the raid doesn't affect them. It's going to be a total of 6 people every week are going to be catapult people. And once again, it's going to be all the locks, the Boomkin, the Ellie Shaman, and the Shadow Priest, right? Or at least 3 locks and then those 3. And essentially we just want at least an Ellie Shaman, or we'll have an Ellie Shaman in the first wave and then a Boomkin in the second wave. So there's always someone that can kind of heal. In addition, the Shadow Priest and locks can heal themselves. Okay? So that's what's going on with kind of the DPS. Now the choppers, since we already talked about them a bit, let's keep going with them. The choppers have a couple abilities. They can speed boost. Theirs just costs energy. They're like rogues, okay? So their speed boost, what you want to use this for is getting in front of the boss quickly to use their other ability called Tar, okay? It will drop a pool of Tar, and it will slow Flame Leviathan, and it can be ignited for extra damage. So the play is you are constantly going to be rotating the choppers, so you speed boost in front and drop Tar. And we don't just want them doing that random. We need to call it out, and we need to assign, okay, Otto's doing Tar, okay, now Pride's doing Tar, and so on, right? It should be kind of 3 people kind of rotating, because it's a 15-second cooldown. I think for both, or pretty close to both. Okay, so that's the main thing you're doing. Now grab Pyrite.
Like a interrupt rotation.
Kind of, yeah, and we'll get to that because there's also interrupts. Their other abilities, they can't grab Pyrite because Blizzard didn't want us to have fun. So it is what it is. The horn is their main damage. Now, as a chopper, I don't want you to be focused on dealing damage to Flame Leviathan with Sonic Horn. It's not important. What you do want to use this for, though, is the Lashers. The choppers are amazing at killing Lashers because they do a cone AoE, and it's kind of the sweet spot of damage that will do a ton of damage to the small ones and clean them up really quick. So if you are a chopper, what you're kind of doing is you're waiting for your passenger, you're taking turns going in front of Flame Leviathan and dropping Tar, and if it's your not turn to drop Tar, you should just be sitting in one of the corners where the Lashers spawn and using Sonic Horn when they spawn. Okay? Now, they do have a first aid kit. This is just whenever you pick up your passenger, just press that ability right away because they're going to be low and almost dead. Okay? And then you just deliver them. Any question about choppers before we move on?
Nope.
typically you kind of want your lowest geared people in here, because it's more they're doing mechanics. They don't need to, like, their only damage ability really is Sonic Horn, and we don't need their Sonic Horn to hit super hard, or we don't need them to have a ton of health, because they're also really quick. So if you get chased as a chopper, you're just fine. And I don't even think he chases choppers. I think he only chases demolishers and siege engines. Which brings us to our last vehicles, which are essentially the tanks of the fight, okay? Now, the tanks are the siege engines, and so the drivers, they have 3 abilities, okay? You have the ram, which needs to be pretty much in melee. Once again, it's kind of like an energy system. You do just get it back over time. You have an interrupt, which is specifically used to kick flame vents. And then you have a speed boost. Now, the speed boost, you should really only be using this when you're being pursued. Okay? So, let's just talk to the driver of the siege engine. What are you doing through the fight? This guy's doing a really good job, you can kind of see. If you're being chased, you're just hauling ass. Sorry, spacebar for some reason goes between max screen and pause. It's annoying. This is a really good example here. So, this guy to the left is doing damage, and he's just staying behind him, okay, and ramming, and he's staying in range to shock. The shock is a low range, okay, so you want to be close. Whereas this guy's being chased, and so he's just running away, and he's going to use speed boost in here in a second. When it comes off cooldown or he feels he's in trouble, he speed boosts away, okay? Easy game. So all siege engines should generally be trying to stay in range. However, siege engines are also really good at killing lashers. So you'll see what they're doing with their assignments here is they typically have one person being chased, one person kicking, 1 or 2 people kicking, and then the remaining siege engines are kind of on lasher control, kind of just somewhere ramming lashers and we're trying to hit lashers into flame leviathan so they get cleaved down with the tar and all that other stuff, right? There's a small lasher chasing a chopper you saw there. So to me, the hardest part of the fight really is managing the lashers. And I'll have to watch this really in depth to see if they have any specific assignments for that. It looks like they do have some people kind of chilling in corners watching them, but for the most part, they're just kind of kiting them. You can see one here, they're just kiting it before it gets to anyone and becomes a problem. Okay? Now, the last person to talk about is the passengers of the siege engine. They still have a really important job. Once again, they have the exact same anti-air rocket, so they can shoot anything in the air and bring pyrite down. Okay? They have a normal DPS thing, so they can still do damage to Flame Leviathan. And the last thing they can do is the Turtle Shield. Now, the Turtle Shield is if the boss is going to hit your siege engine, you need to press it, okay? You will get absolutely wrecked if you don't. Did everyone DC what happened? People joined?
It was just Isaac dropping back.
Okay. So, not too complicated, right? But if you're in a siege engine, you're staying close to kick, all of a sudden he starts chasing you, you might not have enough reaction time, maybe your speed boost is on cooldown, you're kind of relying on your passenger to save you. And like right there, you see this guy getting chased, his passenger should have used shield, the turtle shield, when he got hit here. I don't know what the passenger was doing, or maybe it was on cooldown, but he definitely got hit once or twice there and had no shield, which you want to avoid. So that's pretty much it. I don't really have much more to say about it. We will share this sheet eventually. He goes really into all the buffs and you know, what everyone should be doing, what their priority is, but it's pretty much everything I just said, okay? Any last questions before I stop the recording?
Nope.
No, seems pretty.
Nothing that's my desk.
Seems like a lot's going on, but it's more of a bunch of little things as long as people are taking care of their portion.
Yeah, it's very
it shouldn't be a problem.
isolated.
Yeah, it's really, it's actually, I think it's kind of a fun fight. For it is vehicles and everyone hates them, but it's well designed other than that, and it's kind of you're a piece of a cog in the machine, and everyone's gotta do their job correctly. And really, as we get more gear, as long as the demolishers are stacking pyrite effectively, it will just get easier and easier every week, right? So that's why I'm kind of going with the plan. We're not going to go for hard mode week 1, but every week we can add a tower and make it a bit more difficult as we get more gear, and then kind of learn it incrementally. And that's why I think leaving one tower up really, we saw how much of a joke it was week 1 on the PTR, right? On normal, like, we fucking obliterated him. So I think if we leave a tower up, it really won't be a big deal, even week 1, and then we can see a bit of the mechanics, you know?
Yeah, sounds good. One question, York.
Should I stop the recording, or about this?
Sure.